I warned you, but you didn't listen.
I used to think suburban life was supposed to be peaceful. Clean lawns, friendly waves, maybe the occasional bake sale. That illusion died the moment our mailbox started vomiting HOA letters every week. My wife, Jenna, was 7 months pregnant, glowing and exhausted, trying to nest in peace. I, on the other hand, was trying to keep up with their never-ending parade of fines that seemed to multiply faster than weeds. Welcome to Prodigy Tales. Make sure you like and subscribe for your top-notch HOA drama. It started small. Grass exceeds height regulation by 2 inches. Fine, $50. Then, mailbox paint fading from approved color code. Another fine, $75. I gritted my teeth and paid those, hoping that would shut them up. It didn't. Soon I was fined for non-standard wind chimes and improperly positioned garden hose. That one almost made me laugh until I saw the total, $50. Then came Karen, the self-appointed queen of the HOA, who strutted around in pastel sweaters and fake pearls like she owned the neighborhood. She once cornered Jenna at the grocery store just to remind her that rules are what keep this community civilized. I bit my tongue, but the way she stared at Jenna's belly made my skin crawl, as if even the unborn needed HOA approval. When the 5th fine came for overly reflective window glass, I lost it. The glass wasn't even new. It was the same we'd had since moving in. I demanded to see proof, citing HOA bylaws. Karen smirked and said, "Non-compliance will lead to enforcement action." Enforcement. Over window glass. That's when I drew the line. I stopped paying altogether. If they wanted money, they'd need to show me where the rule book said half of these things. And they couldn't because I'd already read every page. Still, I didn't know how far they'd take it, that they'd turn a few unpaid fines into a full-blown siege. I just knew I was done being pushed around. And for the first time, I wasn't scared of the HOA. They should have been scared of me. Before we dive in deeply, please comment what country or city you're watching this story from. We'd like to know how far this story travels. The next week, I decided to do something most neighbors wouldn't dare. I showed up at the HOA meeting. You could practically hear pearls clutching when I walked in. Karen was there, sitting like a smug judge behind the folding table, flanked by her little board of wannabe deputies. I placed a stack of papers on the table, printed screenshots of the fines, timestamps, and pictures proving every so-called violation was bogus. Karen didn't even look. "Mr. Bennett," she said in that syrupy, fake sweet tone, "your behavior is becoming disruptive to this community." I leaned forward. "Disruptive? For asking why my mailbox paint is apparently a national emergency." A few residents snickered, but Karen's glare shut them up. "We have rules, and you agreed to them when you moved in," she said sharply. "If you refuse to comply, we'll have to take further enforcement measures." I asked her to show me where the HOA rules mentioned half the nonsense she fined me for. She flipped through her binder like she was searching for Narnia, then said, "Administrative discretion." That's HOA code for "we make it up as we go." Later that night, a neighbor texted me a photo, 2 men in black tactical vests marked HOA Enforcement Division taking pictures of my yard. One even used a flashlight to inspect my garden gnomes. I almost laughed, thinking it had to be a prank. But Jenna didn't find it funny. She was scared, hands resting over her belly. The next morning, I caught them again, slowly driving past my house in a black SUV, pretending to be on patrol. They didn't wave. They didn't even blink, just stared. That's when I realized this wasn't about grass or mailboxes anymore. This was personal. Karen wanted to make an example out of me, so I set up every camera I owned, documenting everything. If they wanted to fight, I'd fight. Not with fists, but with evidence. I wasn't paying another dime until they were exposed. They thought they were intimidating me, but in reality, I was already building their downfall. I was under the sink, elbows deep in a stubborn leak when Jenna's voice shattered the afternoon calm. "Honey! Honey!" The sound snapped me upright, tools clattering as I sprinted to the back door. She stood at the edge of the flower bed, watering can tipped, face pale beneath her sun hat. 3 men in black clustered by the pathway, tactical vests reading HOA enforcement, radios buzzing, and one man holding a handgun like a prop. He pointed it at Jenna's belly and, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, said, "We warned you. We were patient with you." Time narrowed. The hose hissed. The baby's kick felt like a thunderclap in my chest, though I couldn't tell if that was fear or something else. I laughed once, a short, ugly sound, because nothing in the world matched what I was seeing. Neighbors spilled onto porches, phones already up, tiny glowing rectangles that would later light up the whole town. I didn't argue. I didn't try to disarm them. Instinct told me the only quick path to safety was what I'd learned from the worst negotiations. Give them what they want in the moment, buy the life you can, then use everything else to destroy them later. I backed inside, palms steadying on the counter while Jenna's breath came out in tremors. I fished the envelope from the drawer where I kept mail I meant to burn later, the latest urgent fine, stamped with threats and a legalese font. They wanted blood and spectacle. I handed them a bandage. I slid the envelope through the cracked door, then opened it and showed them the money as if it were an apology. One man counted slowly, eyes flicking to the cameras bolted under the eaves and the neighbor with a phone in hand. They took the cash. They left. But I wasn't defeated. Cameras had every angle. Witnesses had started saving clips. Inside, I tasted iron and fury. I had bought my wife's safety for the price of a pocket change fine, and the reckoning was already clicking into place. I had prepared my case, lawyers were on standby, and several local reporters had asked to see the footage. In court, every ugly detail got its day in the light. The trial was a parade of subpoenas, shaky cell phone videos, and HOA invoices that read like a bad joke. The gunman's face filled the screen. Footage of him pointing a pistol at Jenna's belly played on loop. Prosecutors charged aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, extortion, trespass, and conspiracy. The defense muttered misunderstandings until the evidence eroded their nerves. Verdicts landed quickly. The man who aimed the gun was convicted of aggravated assault, extortion, and conspiracy. 12 years in state prison, a $150,000 fine, permanent firearm ban, and revoked security license. The two men who backed him were found guilty of aiding and abetting and intimidation. Each drew 7 years and $75,000 in fines. Karen, the HOA president, was convicted of fraud, conspiracy, misuse of HOA funds, and authorizing armed intimidation. 8 years in prison and $3.5 million in restitution and fines. The civil trial followed. The judge ordered $3.75 million in compensatory and punitive damages plus legal fees. Karen's assets were seized, the HOA's accounts emptied. State regulators revoked the enforcement company's licenses and shut it down. The county dissolved the HOA and appointed a transitional committee to rebuild governance without private security. Local news ran the footage, sympathetic anchors pressed prosecutors to act, and Karen declared bankruptcy trying to cover restitution, losing her house and reputation. Jenna healed. Our baby arrived into a quieter life. We fixed the porch swing, repainted the mailbox ourselves, and slept easier. Neighbors who once hid behind polite nods brought forward their own recordings and statements. What the HOA had tried to suppress became the evidence that toppled them. There was no movie-style vengeance, just subpoenas, trials, sentences, and a long ledger of debts by people who thought they were above the neighborhood. They got cells, fines, bans, and headlines. We got safety, accountability, and a long, small peace. Local news ran the footage. Sympathetic anchors pressed prosecutors to act, and Karen declared bankruptcy trying to cover restitution, losing her house and reputation, and bitter, quiet closure. The end. Please like and subscribe for more HOA showdowns like this. Have you had a similar encounter with a Karen or anyone in the HOA board? Let us know in the comments.